Welcome back, y'all. In August 20th, August 20th, 1920, the NFL was actually formed. Coming up August 20th, coming up in 2018, the NFL will be a 98-year-old league, which means 2 years from being 100 years old, which that should be, I guess, in 2020, the NFL will be 100 years old. Uh, you look at this, in that time we've had a lot of, a lot of dynasties, uh, really basically starting with George Halas and the Chicago Bears. George Halas, like he probably coached 47 years, coach slash player for a few of the younger years, and all the way, I think from 1920 to I think 1967, and it was 3 years. He probably would have coached straight up 50 years, but he had 3 years where he didn't coach, and they won 6 titles in that franchise at that time. That was known as the Monsters of Midway. They were the the gold standard of football, how football was played in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Okay, in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and a lot of and that until Chicago won that last NFL title with Hollis in 1963. Okay, so but for 4 of those titles, right? He won them. He had a quarterback by the name of Sid Luckman. And mind you, you go back, look at any old pictures and all this other type of stuff going back. It was going to always be this particular thing with the quarterback and the head coach, because that's like the quarterback. Hallis started getting to a point where it's like, okay, I need a quarterback because Sid Luckman was a guy coming from running a wing T running back or whatever, and he ended up turning him into that of a quarterback. So Luckman had a great career. But most of all, Luckman had the championships. His contemporary or his counterpart was that of the great Sammy Ball, and we all know a great Sammy Ball. Sammy Ball was probably a better athlete, quarterback, and all that stuff than Luckman. But Luckman was great in his own right, but he won. That's the difference, and this is always the common denominator. So that old quarterback coach dynamic was starting way back when. Passed it with the Bears. The next thing that comes in, and I'm gonna keep going back and forth, letting you know where I'm going with this at. So then you go up into that of the late 40s, going into that of the 50s. You had Paul Brown and those Cleveland Brown teams that with the All American Football Conference from 1946. I say that's when the Cleveland Browns started. 1946 and the 4 years in the AAFC, right? Where they like 4 straight years of winning the championships. Long story short, the Cleveland Browns dominated football. They were in a championship game from 1946 to what, 1956 or 56, 57, right? 46, yeah, 46, it's like 56 or something like that. They went to 10 straight championship games. Now, people will say with Texas, come on, man, the AAFC, that wasn't the same. Remember now, they folded. Cleveland goes to the NFL in their first year. They beat the defending champions of that league. I think the Eagles or Giants, one of them teams. They beat them, and they beat them, and then all of a sudden they're the new bully on the block. They had every championship game at that particular time. So you look at what they basically did, and and whatnot. Again, at this time it was Paul Brown, Otto Graham, that automatic auto. That was his quarterback. That was the coach. Let's go to that of the 1960s. Okay, let's go to the 1960s. Go to the 1960s. Who was the gold standard of football? The Green Bay Packers. The Packers won, I think, five championships, five NFL championships in the 1960s with the great Vince Lombardi. His quarterback was who? Bart Starr. That was the dynamics there. Okay, it was always that particular dynamic. Okay, and what went on with those guys, and we seen what they did. Vince Lombardi, did that whole thing there, the sweeps and all that kind of stuff. Offensive guy. Now let's go some more because again I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do some other things. Let's go to that of the 70s. Well, it was all about Chuck Noll. Chuck Noll, and who was his quarterback? Terry Bradshaw, which a lot of people forget and don't really realize that Bradshaw was a late bloomer. Late bloomer. A lot of guys like myself didn't start seeing Bradshaw bloom until like the late 70s, going into that early 80s and whatnot. But for a while, for a good 5 or 6 years of his career, Bradshaw really hadn't done too much of anything. But they ended up winning 4 Super Bowls. Right? They were dominant. 4 Super Bowls in 6 years. Okay. Going to the 80s. Now, mind you, other people might ask about what about this quarterback and this, this, that. No, I'm going to talk about guys who've won 4 or more Super Bowls at this particular point in time. Jump into the 80s. Who do you have? Joe Montana, Bill Walsh. 3 with Bill Walsh, 1 with that of George Seifert, who was the, I think, defensive coordinator under that of Walsh. Walsh, of course, could have stayed on it, probably still would have went to Super Bowl. 4 Super Bowl championships. Jump up to the millennium of 2001 to where we have Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Again, that coach and quarterback duo. Okay. Uh, and it's funny because they're going into the 8th Super Bowl looking for their 6th win. Okay. And the things that have happened. Now, some of these coaches that I talked about, let's just put these certain things in perspective. George Hallis was kind of a player, coach, owner. He was everything. Basically building the league basically built the league into something that was that people wanted to be a part of. Remember, back during the time of early 1900s and all that type of stuff, even during the 1920s, college football was king as far as that. I mean, of course, baseball was the main thing, but college football was taken more serious than that of professional football. People forget about that. They don't know that little tidbit. You follow Red Grange and all them guys, Sammy Barnes. That's the You were at your peak when you played college ball because nobody took professional football serious. Okay, so Hallis brought, I think, a certain part of seriousness. You're gonna have to start recognizing this. Then you go into Paul Brown. Paul Brown is the godfather of modern day football coaching. Okay, he brought the classroom into it, playbooks, breaking down film, testing his players. You follow? He brought all of that in, using the forward pass a lot more. You know what I'm saying? Shifting all these other different things that he brought a lot of these things in to the game. The face mask. And the team was named after him. I mean, Brown was a winner from high school in Massillon, Ohio. He went to Ohio State and won a championship. And then he went into the pros and won championships. Okay. So you look at his imprint that you see today, the coaching tree of all of the different coaches. You go and look at his tree and all the people that come from on his tree, from be it Don Shula, Chuck Noll, they played under him. You're looking at 2 guys that won 6 championships that all played or coached up under that or came from under his tree. That's 6 off the top that I know. That's 6. Then if you go into that of Bill Walsh, that's 3 more. That's 3 more. See, that's 6. That's 9. We keep going. The tree is ridiculous. The tree is absolutely Parcells. Even on down Parcells, going back to that of Perkins, and then to Parcells, and then to Belichick. I mean, the tree is ridiculous. Okay, this is what he's done. You go to okay, before I keep going on with Paul, because you can keep doing that with him. Go over to Vince Lombardi. He was like Vince Lombardi was doing things pretty much. Vince Lombardi accepting people as they were. If you could play, you could play ball with me. He's about the X's and O's, but he wasn't. I think was more of a motivator in getting these guys, getting the best out of guys. Because a lot of those Packers teams, if you really break it down, player to player, it wasn't that great. But as a team, they had great teams. You follow? So when you look at what he did and to this untimely death there, he was getting ready to resurrect the Redskin franchise until his untimely death. He was playing black players in places and whatnot, and he was on the cusp of like the gay rights thing and all of that type of stuff going way back then. He didn't care. He had a brother that was gay and all this other kind of stuff. So Vince Lombardi he was even going into like social issue type thing as a coach, but really hasn't that hadn't even been seen. But unfortunately, his life got cut short due to cancer and whatnot. Chuck Noll, all about football, seriousness with the game. He was just that serious with it. Bill Walsh, technician, inventor of the West Coast offense. Chuck Noll basically showed you this is how he scrapped everything, whatever the Steelers were doing, and he basically built the team starting with me and Joe Green. He said, I'm starting with defense. That's what he started with. And that's what the Steelers defense, that's what the Steelers teams is built defense and then running game and then later on passing and everything. And like I said, four Super Bowl championships in 6 years. Okay, let's keep going. Bill Walsh, West Coast offense. We already know what he did. He's blueprint on that Hall of Famer, the whole 9 yards. Okay, now we're up to that of Bill Belichick, who started coaching in 1975 under I think Ted Marchibroda. And I'm saying all of these different things to say, man, is Bill Belichick the greatest coach of NFL history? Remember, I'm not going to say the greatest coach of all time because when you say greatest coach of all time, well, all means all of or some of just all of it. Is that we haven't accomplished that yet. That hasn't happened. That means for you to say greatest of all time, that means time would have ended, and someone outside of the time has to then mark that and say, yeah, that was the greatest of all time. They got to scope the whole thing over with. Time is not over with yet. So the NFL, so really in the first 100 years of this particular great game, in 100 years, I would almost a little bit have to give the nod to that of Belichick over Brown. People say that's some people might say it's crazy or whatever. No, it's not. Look at it this way. Back during the time of guys like Hallis, Brown, Lombardi, even to an extent with Chuck Noll, but not all the way. But I'm saying there's three that I named because they're coming from a different time period. And it goes 70s was a whole other era that's coming up. You look at it this way. Paul Brown was telling guys, well, you don't have sex after Tuesday. No drinking, no, I'm not gonna deal with that. No drinking, no this, no that, all this other kind of stuff. He was having it. He was not having that stuff. He had complete control over those players until things started changing where he started clashing with the great Jim Brown and whatnot. And that ended up leading to him getting kicked out of that of a team that he basically built by Art Modell. And everybody pretty much knows that story. So, and then somebody like George Hallis, who had his players, he had them guys under his thumb. They could do whatever, it was like, that's the coach. We do this, we do whatever by him and stuff like that. No, things started kind of loosening up some. And of course, by the got into the 80s, okay, we doing this. Bill Walsh is doing things a certain way and stuff like that. Yeah, after a while, you turn it over to the team and do what they have to do because they're the ones out there playing. You look at what somebody like Bill Belichick, who was a disciple of that of Bill Parcells, who comes from that coaching tree going back to obviously Paul Brown. Bill Belichick starts to coach in 2011. So 2001 is when the Pats actually start to take off. Okay, to what you see the Pats to be today, right? He came in a time of the internet, literally. The internet was just sort of kind of been taken off in 2001. At this time around 2001, everybody starts to have a cell phone or whatever. As time goes on, you have MySpace or you have picture phones, MySpace. As time goes on, YouTube pops up, Facebook pops up, Twitter pops up, and all this other kind of stuff like that. And these guys that I'm naming, they have 4 or more titles with one quarterback. Okay? With one quarterback. That's the one constant is the coach and that quarterback. That's the two constant things is the coach and the quarterback. So you get these guys up. So you have Brady and Belichick literally joined at the hip. Okay? All of the changes and stuff like that has went on. And them guys are still there. Okay? That just shows you how deep this is. Belichick had to went through that whole era of dealing with all of these things in some way, form, or fashion, even being an older guy, because Belichick would be that of a teenager in the 60s, more or less. A teenager that in the mid 60s and what have you. So when you look at Belichick, so he kind of knows about rebellion or different things because times was changing in that of the 60s. So what eventually ends up happening is Belichick and some of his contemporaries who are younger than he is right now, 10 to 15 years younger, he knows how to deal with the players even better than some of them do. See, the way Belichick is doing things, Belichick is about football and only all about football. I think he's taken from all those guys that I've talked about, and probably even more that I haven't talked about. And it's about football. If you're trying to play football and win, you play a pat. You can be a patient, you can play for me. If not, I don't want nothing to do. When you start asking about money or all this type of stuff like that, like guys like Randy Moss and some and some of the defensive players that he had to come through there and stuff like that. Uh, nah. If you want to win, I show you how to win, or but I'm not going to pay you all this money. I'm not going to have these prima donna stars and whatnot on my team because I can still win without them. And he's done that. He's done that with Instagram popping around, Facebook streaming, all of that stuff going on with reality show. He has survived all that, and he is still winning. Where everybody has issues on their teams with their players doing X, Y, and Z, but for some strange reason, Belichick has done that, helped revolutionize the game, being from a defensive mind. People forget that he won 2 championships under that of Bill Parcells and the Giants. So when you look at this guy and what he's done, accomplished in this time frame, which is so many freaking distractions, look at what he's done. Do you honestly think guys like George Halston could have dealt with that? Vince Lombardi, Paul Brown couldn't have dealt with that type of stuff. The individuality of that of players, because he has players that individual, they do their thing or whatever, but they know it's about football when we get that when we get right down to it. It's about football. So he has done that. Can I rank him up? I say I probably could pass Paul Brown because people say I want to give Paul Brown the nudge just because of he when you do something first and it stays for the test of time and 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 it basically revolutionized the game. He's the godfather of modern day coaching, of modern day football as we know it right now. But what Bill Belichick has done with all the distractions of where we at with all of this technology, it's still all about football and the guy's still winning. They can try to they can act he's aloof, he wears his hoodie and he's this and that or whatever. If it's about football, if you're about football, you can play for Belichick. Now you ain't gonna get paid. You gonna get paid whatever you gonna get paid. But I know a guy like Belichick, but he gonna look at it like, dude, you making anywhere from $500 to $1 million a year. That just like second string players. Where else you gonna go make that kind of money at? You can go to college, honey. You can go to college all you want or whatever like that. It's gonna be hard for you to be making that kind of money. And you do what you're supposed to do, you're gonna have that money. So I don't need to pay you. Brady's gonna get paid because okay, that's just the way it goes with the quarterback. Okay, you're gonna get paid, but a lot of you other guys get paid. By the time it's all over, said done with, the only guys, and with the exception of probably Gronk, those are going to probably be your 3 Hall of Famers from that at least that 20-year run of that the Pats. That's going to be it. You might catch 3 Hall of Famers, maybe, and I'm using 3 at best. That's because Gronk in his size, and like I said again, you're looking at somebody like Belichick. Belichick sit up there and started having running the 2 tight end system with him and Alex and Hernandez. And at one time, a few years ago, wasn't that long ago, where the top 5 tight ends, 2 of them was on the Pats, and that's just how good it was. And he started implementing them and went to Super Bowls with them guys. So and Gronk catching the touchdown passes and all this kind. Hey, but he's even winning even when Gronk is hurt in the playoffs, and Gronk is not even there and hardly in the playoffs, and he's winning. So the guy's hard to beat. He's he's hard to beat. They're a hard team to beat, and that's what I'm saying. So it's going to be really deep. Like I said, is Bill Belichick the greatest coach of the of NFL history? And the way that what he's done, he's already, he's won 5 titles. I mean, he's right there, man. He's right there. And he's in this time frame where these guys do what they do now. And he all of that distraction, you got like guys like Mike Tomlin can't handle certain things over there with the Steelers. Half the stuff that happened over the Steelers in other all these other clubs, it's not happening over there with Belichick. Because the culture there is football or nothing else. If you're not trying to play football, if you want to get money, well, this ain't the place to come to. You need to go someplace else that's gonna pay you this money and all that. But y'all probably not gonna win, or you may win, but y'all not gonna have the success that we have here. You follow? So, like I said, kudos have to go there. I'm not a Pats fan. I'm a Belichick fan. See, the guy is all about football. That's my name, my page, everything football. Because when I play ball, high school or whatever, or however wanted to be, everything had to be about football. Period. For you to be for you to be great, that you have to literally eat, breathe, this, all of that stuff. It has to be, it has to consume you, literally, for you to be great. So, so he's right there. He's right there. But yeah. So, saying all that to say about somebody like Belichick, I mean, he's done things that these other guys haven't even figured out yet. And some of these guys are way younger than Belichick, and you think they could be able to, I can know how to do it. No, it's like Belichick, I got that. Because you know why? Because football is the defining factor. That's why him and Brady are the perfect storm. People ask me, it's about football with Brady. Watch his show. It's about football. If you're not about that, if you're not trying to do that, you're not going to beat this guy. Everything is about football with him because they know, especially Brady as a player, his time is going to come to an end. So I got to do everything that I can do to keep me going and doing all this other stuff. But it's about football. All he does is study film. That's his job. It's not a bad gig to have, you know. I want to thank y'all. Check me out at Everything Football 62. Like, do some likes for me. Subscribe to the page. And like I said, I'm loving all the love that I'm starting to get. Like I said, didn't even expect to get. Like I said, I keep saying this. Back in December, I think I might have 2 or 3 followers. That was it. I wasn't expecting that because I'm doing this other love of the game and love to talk about the game. I can talk about the game all day, every day, all the time. So I really appreciate the love, trying to get the visuals up better and better as time goes on. And as next few weeks come up, you might see some different things coming up. But yeah, so subscribe to the page. Check me out on Twitter, Everything Football, number 62. Every Uncut Men 62. You can follow me there. But check me out here. Leave some comments. We can start some dialogue. I try to answer. If somebody has something negative to say or whatever like that about what I was saying or whatever, my thing is facts. I back it up with facts. It's about facts. You can sit up there and be a fan all you want. I'm backing it up with facts. Let's start talking facts, stats, history of the game. We can go toe to toe on that type of stuff. I ain't got time for all that other mess. And I'm talking about football. I'm not worried about stuff off the field and all that kind of stuff. It's about football with me. That's why it's called Everything Football. So, you guys check me out. Like I said, subscribe to the page, and we're gonna keep this thing moving. All right. Thanks.